episode 19 of Anime and Us. I'm TJ.
And I'm Shawn.
And this is the review show that reviews anime from A to Z, sort of.
Alright guys, so last episode, we didn't actually spin the wheel. And that's because on Q, it only gave Queen's Blade. There was nothing else. Now, obviously there's other dubbed animes on Q.
Particular
but the list that we're using from the specific website, for some reason, only had Q. Now, normally I just cherry pick from the wiki about, when it was made, maybe when it was manga made, maybe when it was, adapted in anime. But I'm going to read the first paragraph real quick. Queen's Blade is a series of visual combat books published by Hobby Japan based on the licensed works from Firelight Game Company's Lost Worlds, first published in 2005. It features sexually suggestive depictions of an exclusively female cast of characters.
Yeah.
There is particular emphasis on the large breasts of many of the contestants. Okay. And that's pretty much the entire series. Done. Review over.
The overall plot revolves around a tournament called the Queen's Blade, which is held once every 4 years to determine the queen. Which they never get to in the first season.
Yeah, that was a bit confusing.
But,
I thought, especially because there's a bunch of fights, right. And this angel is sort of like the referee, really bad at it, but sort of like the referee of it.
Before we get into that, I wanted to go back to something.
Good.
What is Lost Worlds Firelight Game Company?
Let's click on it. Let's see what happens. We'll do this live.
Yeah, let's see.
Lost Worlds is a combat picture book game.
Okay.
Oh, so I maybe...
In 1983.
Yo, wow, that's old.
Yeah.
I ain't showing big old titties in 1983.
The cover doesn't...
You know what? It could just be like the whole Queen's Blade type thing.
Possible.
And then they just emphasize on everything else.
Well, 1999 Pyramid Magazine named Lost Worlds one of the most Millennium's best games.
I might have to play that.
Yeah, we might have to see what that's about.
Yeah, I might have to play that. We'll look at that.
But it's a picture book game, right? Is that what that said?
Yeah, that's what it said. Huh. Well, I mean, 1983, not a whole lot you could do in 1983 as far as games go.
Well, I mean, so it's more of a D&D kind of situation.
That's what I was thinking, too.
Huh. That's interesting. Anyway, so this show is complete garbage. And
it's visually pleasing.
It's very, as the description said...
Sexually suggestive.
Sexually suggestive. But, and...
You barely... Did you even see a single man?
Yeah, in shadows.
Her dad? You see her dad in memory.
Yeah, but he's even in black and white. You don't even see him in full color.
So there's... Oh, you see a little boy. One little boy.
Yeah, I suppose. Anyway.
Which is weird. We'll get to that.
Anyway, but, so, dialogue is trash.
Yo, God, it's almost as bad as 801, actually, at times, for sure.
Story is trash. There's one storyline that I thought was pretty okay, but other than that, it was trash.
Yep.
But I found this show hilarious.
Yeah, it was funny. I laughed a lot.
But it's not hilarious intentionally.
I don't think it's hilarious intentionally from the original creators. I do think, when in the dubbing process, they sort of were like, hey, let's go with it. But that's just headcanon. That's headcanon. That's what I'm thinking they did, especially with a couple things. We'll get to that.
Huh?
We'll get to that.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, so Queen's Blade.
I just want to point out one more thing. We've said a lot of times for a few other shows that this is one step below hentai. No, this is...
It's pretty much. I mean, everything except for penetration.
Yeah, so it literally... one step below hentai.
When people that don't watch anime think, oh, I can't watch that. That's just weird titties and crazy shit happening.
This is what you thought.
This is what they're thinking of.
Yes.
Anime exactly like this one.
This is the bad one. The stereotypical bad one.
Oh, so stereotypical as far as sexually explicitness goes.
Yes, alright. So, I guess we should start with the first episode.
Well, we could do that, sure. Well, anyway, the premise... they're fighting for the Queen's Blade, just a quick premise, and then the angel sort of,
The angel's referee.
The referee.
Because there is...
For some reason, angels...
Every fantasy trope ever in this show, in the 12 episodes that we saw. They go to ancient Egypt, and there's a pyramid girl, there's elves all of a sudden out of nowhere. In the second episode...
That was weird. Attention to detail, though. I'll get into that later.
Second episode, they're in Japan, and there's a priestess and ninjas all of a sudden.
Journey to the West, even. That was weird.
Fighting giant frog monsters, but it never really got past the heights of the first episode.
Oh, especially not knowing what this series was about at all, and just clicking play on the first episode.
I mean, don't get me wrong, it's been...
Oh my God.
It's bad shit from start to finish.
Yeah, but just the shock of that first episode.
So, you want to Tell them what happened.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, but because there's a lot that I've seen since the first episode.
It starts off with a girl up in the mountains.
Just walking through the mountains, right?
Yes, and she's covered.
And then she gets confronted.
Yeah, by
a weird pink. It almost reminds me of Boo from Dragon Ball Z.
Almost, yeah, but she's got rabbit ears with hands
that rabbit ear hands are covering her titties out of her hair.
Yes, there's no bra. It's just the hands over her breast.
Big old titties.
And what does she do?
So if the hands come off, she then can produce breast milk that is acidic, extremely acidic, and she can shoot it and aim it as much as she likes.
And then at the episode,
which obviously, in the opening scene, it squirts all over the blonde-headed girl that was going through the mountain, and it disintegrates her clothing, obviously.
Her disintegrated.
That was needed for storytelling.
Her wetting herself was...
Oh my god, she peed herself, too.
There was a couple...
She got gripped up pretty much. She just, there was a couple... That was just so weird.
Uh-huh. So, I mean, okay. And then at the end of the first episode, the pink rabbit fights the main character, and how she went...
Well, the main character is the girl that was going through the mountains. So they fought again at the end of the episode.
Who is like a princess, almost.
Yeah, she's pretty much a princess.
She's nobility, but they treat her like a princess.
Yeah, so she wins the end of the fight at the end of the episode, because she... I forget her name, but the Boo girl, the girl that shoots breast milk.
I didn't catch any of their names, honestly.
She shoots it. She's shooting so much of it into the sky that it's raining down over the entire
the castle.
And it's it's acid, so it's burning everything. Everyone's clothes is burning off, all that stuff. And so she jumps on her and grabs her breasts, and then the buildup makes her breasts explode.
Well, she uses her breasts to cover her breasts. So
yeah, there you go. I'm sorry. She uses her breasts to cover the breasts, not her hands. Somehow comes out of it unscathed, even though the explosion's gigantic.
And then the rabbit girl blows up.
But she blows up into pieces, and like Boo, she just grows back eventually. Not episode, but she grows back eventually.
We find out later that she's still alive. Yeah. So, yeah.
So ridiculous.
And we're introduced to a couple characters during this.
Risty,
the benevolent bandit. That's another thing they love to do. They love to announce who they are.
Multiple times.
Every time they come in the scene. I am Risty, the benevolent bandit.
Well, I mean, there's not a whole lot of depth to this anime, so...
I got you, but...
It's kind of needed, because you're not going to find out any other way.
It was just so ridiculous. But, so, the main character, I forget her name, she's running away from home. She's got...
Lena, the Wandering Warrior.
Yeah, Lena, the Wandering Warrior. She's running away from home because she doesn't like noble life. She has two sisters, which is
You find out later on that the older one, not the younger one, Claudette, the Thunderclap.
The Thunderclap, yes.
Girl, whatever.
Wow, we're doing really good with the names in this one.
Right? You paid attention, I wonder why.
Good.
You find out much later on, towards the end of the 12 episodes, that although she is her older sister, it's an adoptive older sister. Which now makes sense.
No, she wasn't adopted. She was a bastard.
Oh, either way. Now makes sense that she can't be the heir to whatever throne or dukedom or whatever the fuck they have.
And the storyline between Lana and her older sister was actually the best part of the whole show.
Yeah, it's probably the only storyline that's
there was this whole thing
mediocre.
where the older sister feels like her job is to protect the little sister
and keep her on track to be,
and the little sister loves her big sister, and
in a creepy way where she wants to fondle her titties and sleep with her.
Not her, the big sister.
No, I got you. Lena loves her bigger sister.
To the point, real familial love.
Yeah.
And, to a point where the big sister saves her when they were little.
Yes.
And then there's this big scene in the middle where they fight because she's going to try and bring her home. And
Lena's like, no, that's not my life. That's not what I want.
Right. So they fight, and she loses, and they repeat the scene from earlier where she's fallen off a cliff, and this time Claudette lets her go.
Yes.
And she falls, presumably to death. Obviously, she didn't die.
Yes.
And then at the end of the series, they bring that scene back where she's fallen again, and she's got her again, and she pulls her back up. I thought that was the best storyline of the whole thing, as far as full circle and storytelling and stuff like that. Because it was probably the only story,
the only one that had any depth to it.
Yeah. The other
even then, it's still fairly shallow, but the only one with any depth to it.
So,
which, in contrast, makes it look really good.
Yeah, it did. I I was actually rather impressed as with the storytelling on that one. In fact, another thing that impressed me about the show is just how blatant it is.
It doesn't care, yeah.
I respected it right from the beginning. I was like, well, it knows what it is.
It doesn't care at all, and this is it. Like it or turn it off, pretty much.
So, the other sister she has, she's kind of gay for her. Lana has a little...
Lena has a little... Lena has a little...
Lana. So whatever.
Has a little sister who's super gay for her.
Yeah, so that was weird.
Yeah, I didn't quite understand she was her sister at first, and then I was like, oh.
Yeah, that's her sister.
Oh, this is weird. I thought it was like a servant. I don't know why. They explicitly said in the beginning that it was her sister, but I didn't connect to that.
Yeah, but she seemed like a sister because, servant because she's like guarding her at certain points, but just because she's just obsessed with her. But plus, she's not the heir to the throne. Lana is.
Well, she's older, so that would make sense.
Yeah, so
but if she gives it up, then it's supposed to just go straight to the next in line. I don't know why this is an issue.
I got you, but the thing is, they never once mentioned that she was giving up titles. She was just running away from home. She never said, I am no longer part of...
Because
there's some parts in the show where she's using the family name to get through certain points. So she never actually said she's relinquishing anything.
She probably should have.
She should have.
Would have stopped a whole lot of this.
I agree. It was flimsy storytelling, but it's what I'm telling you how it played out. So Lana and Risty are like Risty is, I was going to say, one of the main characters, but she's not in the first season, really. She's in there for 3 episodes.
And then a couple at the end, right?
And then because she's showing Lana how to survive out in the wilderness by herself, and then she kind of disappears for the rest of her.
Yeah. And from then on, it's really Lena...
by herself going from place
sort
to
of
place.
Getting a little stronger here and there. Yeah. And then in like a 4-minute montage, she gets super strong later on.
The speed at which she grows stronger and stronger is ridiculous.
And they try to explain it like they already had strength, now she just learned form and spirit.
But what I found really stupid as far as character development goes and stuff like that, she's getting stronger, but she's only gets strong to a certain point where they need her to be weak again.
Yeah.
Then they depower her. Always. Then they depower her again so they can get her clothes off. And then she gets super strong again, and then it's like, okay. So that's pretty much the first episode is her, and it's Lana Wonder. But there are 2 other main characters: the priestess,
yes,
and the ninja girl.
Yep,
which show up in the second episode. They're from Japan, I guess.
Yeah, some sort of Japanese country. Did they say Japan? Obviously, a Japanese.
Well, I assume because
type of country they made,
because they said they were going to the Western country.
Well, they could whatever country they're in could just be heavily based off Japan and in the East.
No. Because the Eastern priestesses and stuff in the ninjas was very Japanese.
Well, obviously,
but
right?
all the Western stuff.
But unless they explicitly say Japanese, it doesn't mean it is.
Well, I know, but the Western side of it seemed very English.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's how I presumed it.
Oh, for sure. But like I said, unless they explicitly say it could be a country of its own origin.
Now, to the show's credit, they do show the priestess naked, but not very often.
Yeah, it's pretty rare.
So, they do get the characterization down.
Yeah, for the one character. But what I don't like is that in the priestess's episode, she gets a super powerful sword that can destroy
she doesn't do anything with
the gigantic monsters and stuff, and does nothing with it.
Well,
when it's needed, I don't know how to use it properly, or she doesn't use it, or it falls or something. Come on, fucking swing the damn thing.
In the priestess's episode, her whole priesthood gets destroyed by these ninjas.
Instantly.
These ninjas for somehow, and then they all form together to create a giant frog.
Yeah, with magic.
So of course, it's alive and it's acidic. Yeah, and so it's burns.
Better than acidic breast milk.
But everything's acidic in this. Yeah, so that happened, and then there was a ninja that betrayed the other ninjas, and who I guess really loves the priestess for some reason.
Yeah, for some reason they're cool. You don't find out why.
No, but it was just...
You technically don't even find out why the ninjas are attacking the place. I assume they want the sword, but they never say why.
They kind of did. The actual queen sent them to do it.
Oh, right, the queen's a bit of a cunt.
Yeah, but we see her like twice.
Yeah.
So, there's that, but
those ninjas never come back.
No, because they leave that country.
They should have followed him. Like that should have been an ongoing thing.
I guess, but
I'm expecting too much. I'm sorry. Let's pay attention to the cities again.
Just look at this. Look at this point. They gave you a priestess who is practically covered up, but they pair her up with a ninja girl whose breast is almost always out. So,
well, to be fair, almost everyone's breasts are almost always out.
No, I mean, they at least have shirts on that get torn and stuff like that. Hers, she's basically wearing a bra throughout the whole show. So, you know.
Risty's not wearing a whole lot. Lena's not wearing a whole lot after the first episode.
No, I got you.
Her armor is just like this weird piece of armor that covers like the small of her belly and pretty much just her nipples.
No, I got you, but I'm just saying when they pair those two up together, expecting storyline things to come together, you're asking too much from the show.
Oh yeah.
So anyway,
it gets weirdly sexual. So like in the second or third episode, there's this weird girl that's sent from the house to get Lena, but then she decides not to.
Yeah, and she's very gay for Lena.
Her bottom clothing is a live snake that just covers her crotch. And then you say underwear, and yes, I guess it is underwear, but it's also her outer clothing. She doesn't wear anything else.
Oh yeah, no.
And then the snake constantly comes off. Now, to the show...
I guess you could call them her panties.
If you didn't know this, Japan doesn't really show bottoms at all, ever. So that's why, although there's plentiful titties, you don't see anything underneath the bottom. So that's fine.
Oh, no,
Danny, I'm not upset about it. No, I'm talking... See, back to the nudity thing. Butt is not nudity. Asshole and vagina is nudity. It doesn't show any of that.
All right.
Just showing someo's bare ass is nudity.
When you said bottom.
Bottom. Bottom. I was trying to be nice, and then you made me say some,
well, we're already in a hentai type show. So,
this is definitely R-rated show.
This is not for kids, this one at all.
No. So, I'm sure it was aired during primetime TV, too. I'm 100% sure of that.
I think we're going to need to research that one because...
Yeah, sure. But I'm 100% sure of that.
Because I am not so positive that this was
We'll research it in, I don't know, next week's... Or our next episode's podcast. We'll put it up.
We'll do it right in the beginning of next week's episode. Just to see what it is.
But yeah, so the girl, like, with the snake bottom is, like, wrestling Lena because they need money. So, like, they're in this weird...
because the snake girl stole their money.
Yeah, she stole the money. Whatever.
There's a whole money plot line.
Like, you know, they're fighting and wrestling, and the winner gets a really small amount of gold, apparently. Not enough to do anything. But, like, she's, like... The snake is, like, grabbing up Lena's tits and, like, biting them, putting poison in them, venom. It's just so weird. So sexual in an odd way.
That wasn't even the most lesbian character in the show.
No, God, no.
No, because we were introduced to one of the villains, and then the second villain was a princess who died 1,000 years ago, who was resurrected by the Swamp Witch.
Yeah, who's
the main antagonist
an Egyptian type princess.
The Swamp Witch is the main antagonist in the show. We never see her.
Yeah, you never meet her.
Not once. And so she sends out her 3 minions. One was the rabbit, pink hair girl.
Boo.
Yes, and then there was
the priestess. That was princess. That was resurrection.
1,000 years ago. Who
the other one is like a maid.
We'll get to her. She's where I'm getting to. But I want to explain the ancient Egyptian girl first, because after Claudette drops Lana down into the cavern, this 1,000-year-old Egyptian princess finds Lana and casts a spell over her to make her slave.
And she's got this weird, like, wand stick staff thing who can talk. He's like, oh, I found her, and my tail is so hard. Yeah. And it's like, oh my god. Yeah, no one male figure in the show.
He is horny as hell. And the first thing that Lana does as under her slave spell is giving her a massage.
Yeah, that was good.
And so there's this whole thing where the priestess comes and saves Lana in the pyramid, because we're in ancient Egypt apparently at this point. Because, you know, forest connects to deserts and deserts connect to plains, and it's just how this world works apparently. So that was happening, and then we go after that we go to the forest with the elves. Mm-hmm. This is where we're introduced to the elves.
Like a 12-year-old elf, you see her titties.
Yeah, the 12-year-old elf, and then the third demon.
A bit much. Well, wait, with the 12-year-old elf,
yeah.
You don't see it obviously, but she's wearing a skirt, and they do comment on the fact that she doesn't wear any panties.
No, not only that, they say all elves don't.
All elves, but you do see her mentor, who's an elf, later on, and she has panties on. So that's weird.
But they're leaves, and it's. You could tell that she was more conservative.
Well, the reason why I bring this up is because I don't want to forget. Later on in the series, she comes back, and there is a shot that's panned down to look at her under her skirt. And I forget what it was, but like there's a foot or something that covers her butt so you don't see it, which was hilarious. I was like, oh, look, attention to detail. Instead of just drawing underwear, they actually covered it with something.
I don't know if they didn't want to show that because she was underage, because I highly put it...
Well, they don't show bottoms. Like I said, they can't show bottoms. They're not allowed. It's illegal.
Okay. But at the same...
Another R-rated, real quick, if you don't know, Japanese porn is always blurred. They can't show bottoms.
Oh, okay.
That's why.
I got you. But, I didn't really take it as because they couldn't show bottoms. It's just because they mentioned that elves don't wear panties, and then Lana's always asking, like, curious about why you don't wear panties.
I like the breeze.
So it's at every moment, it's just like, it's almost like, yeah, they say it, but we're not going to show you kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Like, not because they weren't allowed, but because it was almost like an ongoing joke. That's how I took it anyway.
Yeah.
But, so we're introduced to the 12-year-old elf, and we get introduced to the last villain, the maid.
The maid.
She controls death and stuff. So she sucks souls out of people, and she does that...
Out of their mouth.
By kissing them, yeah. So
it could have been out of the titty, which was what I expected. So I'm impressed by that. They went for the mouth.
There's full makeout scenes.
Yeah.
I think the makeout scenes was...
But is she doing it for pleasure, or is she doing it for their soul?
I don't know. She seemed like she got a lot of pleasure out of it.
Out of all the characters, I didn't really care for her too much. I mean, I didn't care for a whole lot of them.
I didn't care for any of them, honestly.
But she was just someone whatever.
I mean, they were all bland and stupid.
What about the sword master, the giant, not giantress, the girl that could like slay dragons with the giant cloud sword,
2-ton titties?
Oh my god! And her little boy, who's probably 9, goes up to hug her at various points, and her titties flopping out, and just it's like wrapping around his head because they're so big, and it's just so weird. And she's like, hold on to me, son, while she's fighting, and her titty's flopping out, and he's literally holding on through her waist, and tits hitting him in the head, like, he's gonna get a concussion, and she's jumping around swinging her sword. Why is he holding on to you?
And this is also where we're introduced to the dwarves. And
which looks like a mini elf. Doesn't look like a dwarf at all.
Which, of course, they use the dwarves as... was she like a 10-year-old girl?
She looked like a 10-year-old, but obviously she's a dwarf, so she's, 180 years old?
Whatever. So she was technically older than everyone, but
they had a comment about that.
Of course.
She was like, you need vegetables, come eat. And she's like, well, I know I look young, but I'm way older than you.
Yeah, but of course she's got to look 10. You know?
Yeah, of course.
So...
Well, you know what? That doesn't bother me too much. Just draw her like a dwarf typically looks.
No, I got you.
He drew her like a mini elf.
I know. I couldn't put it past this show, is what I'm saying. They
didn't care.
Think of any sexual trope in anime, it's in this show.
Yeah, just not with boys. Just all women.
Yeah, it's definitely an all woman case. We were joking at first that there was no guys.
Yeah, because we didn't know. Like, it was the first few minutes, and we were like, oh, look, there's no guys. Like, that's odd.
I mean, there were guys, but they were cast in shadows. No one got a name.
Yeah, unimportant.
Yeah, there wasn't even... I don't think there was... Oh, no, I guess the dad got a name, but other than him...
Yeah.
So, I mean, the story is just Lano going from place to place, getting stronger.
Ever so slightly stronger. And then, like I said, there's a 4-minute montage in episode 10 or 11.
Honestly,
where she gets really strong. And she even learns how to hack move.
Honestly, each episode is like a fight scene in a Shippuden, almost. Yeah. So, and then at the end, there's an epic fight scene with everybody.
Yeah. And the Boo character summons this weird... monstrous sea demon thing. Yeah. It's like half sea demon, top half is human with big old titties, and she goes inside of it. And the lower half's a snake kind of thing. Yeah, the bottom half's like a sea demon type thing. And then the queen eventually comes out, the current queen, and turns her to stone. Oh, right, because, she can do that. Oh, everyone's got powers, too. Yeah, everyone's got some kind of power. Except for the important people. Like, Risty doesn't have one. They're just really good fighters. Doesn't have one. Now, Claudette... she's the thunderclap, whatever. She can control thunder. I thought it was something that it was in her. Like, no, it was her power. Sword. It's her sword. Yeah. And then you see the person who made her sword, which is the girl with the giant sword that can slay a dragon or whatever. The big titties. Well, she super big titties. Remade Lena's sword. So I was like, oh, look at that. Like, maybe Lena's sword, because apparently they have the same metal, is going to be a magical lightning sword. No. Well, we don't know, because
the series ends on like a cliffhanger.
I think it would have came because her and Claudette fought at the end, sort of. I think it would have came out then if it was.
Oh, that was that was kind of the end of the series, Lana and Claudette's fight, because that was the big main fight before
the giant monster
giant
thing.
epic fight that really like halfway through was only between like 4 characters.
Oh Christ! I almost fell over. Anyway, yeah, so that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I mean, at the end, the fight was between like 4 characters, even though they're surrounded by people. But it's bad. They got lazy
Don't watch
at the end.
If you want softcore porn, I mean, I guess this is softcore porn with a mild story in it.
Well, here's the thing. Next time I get around Q, we got another season of this.
Yeah, because it's the only one on our list, so we're watching the second season.
So, and there's actually 3 seasons and OVAs of this, so every time Q comes around, you get an update on Queensblade. So,
alright, so what are you rating it at?
Oh, I didn't even consider that. This show is so bad.
It's terrible, but we laughed. We enjoyed it because we laughed, and it was visually pleasing.
So... If we look at it objectively and just on
it's terrible. It gets like a 1.
Yeah,
it's not something anyone should watch.
No, it's bad. It's a 1. But you take into the
whether you enjoyed it or not.
Right, you take into that in fact, then I gotta push it up to a 4.
Yeah, that's so funny. I was thinking around 4 too.
Because it's better than the last one we watched, the Please Princess, and we gave it, or Please Teacher.
Yeah, like 3.5.
We gave that like a 3-ish. So now this one was way better than that.
It was more enjoyable to watch.
Which was way better than that.
Hey, big titties makes for good anime. What am I going to say?
Alright, let's spin the wheel and see what we do next week.
Next episode. Here we go.
Wow!
Rurouni Kenshin.
I did not expect that one.
I love me some old school Rurouni Kenshin.
Yeah, I've seen all of this.
Yeah, so have I.
And I've seen even the Samurai X
stuff.
I
have not seen the Samurai X stuff.
Well, maybe you should watch the Samurai X stuff.
Not happening. I'm watching Rurouni Kenshin.
Well, it's like if you look in the episode.
Unrelated.
It's Samurai X is not even on our list because it's paired together.
Unrelated. It's not on the wheel. Rurouni Kenshin it is. Alright, guys. Next episode, that's what we're watching.
Alright. Bye.
Have a good night.